Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Love and Cherish podcast. Once again, I'm Laura Howe, and today I'm joined by the very lovely Ralph Brewer, who is an author, a YouTuber, and the founder of both Dad Starting Over and Help for Men. Hello, Ralph.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, for those that are watching or listening and they don't know all the little trials and tribulations we had for the last 35 minutes trying to get this to work. So
It
so if
was
we seem
long.
like extra giddy, it's because like, yes, we did it. We had microphone issues and I had camera issues and all the gremlins, as we say in the
We
US.
did. Ralph very graciously stuck with it because most of the problems were definitely on my end, and I put it down to being a newbie.
Do you still consider yourself a newbie? I mean,
Yes.
you've got some legitimate success at this. You have like hundreds of thousands on videos and so forth. I mean, I think you're past the newbie status at this point.
Maybe because compared to my career as a therapist and sort of on the front lines working with people in various different settings, this feels incredibly new. I feel so comfortable in my role as a therapist, yet here in this space, it feels very much like I am, yes, treading new ground, winging it, some might say. But it seems to be going down really well. Thank you for noticing. That's very kind.
What's your formula? What's your secret? What's the secret sauce here? As everyone wants to know, because here's a lady who is relatively new, but I'm watching your videos and it's like 200,000, 300. I'm like, okay. So what do you think? What have you tapped into here?
It's a really good question. I'm slightly embarrassed that you've taken over, but I'm just going to go with it and trust because you're a lovely man. So I don't the honest answer is I really don't know. It must have something to do with the stats. I think that the stats appeal to people. So most of the videos come with some degree of sort of stat-based information. Um, it The other thing that I'm told is that people appreciate the balanced view.
Hmm.
So there's something about that. Um,
It's the legitimacy of what you do, because there's so much performative nonsense out there that's all, hey, jump cuts and crazy YouTube stuff. But here's a very legitimate, caring young lady who likes to talk about relationship stuff.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So let's change the direction of of attention back to where it should be. And I think the first thing that I wanted to say is that you strike me as a man on a mission, and I would really like you to talk about how that came to be. You've started up these beautiful organizations, so I'm really interested to hear your story. What set you on that path and got you going with that mission to help men?
Good question. Well, if you had asked me about 15 years ago or so, a little less than that, what's your direction or where do you see yourself in 2025? This would have been the absolute last thing on the planet Earth. This was not my direction at all. I was in the world of marketing, helping up businesses market their business and do on the creative end of things. I was married. I had 3 children, year and a half old, 6 years old, and 9 years old. To make a not nice story short, I was on vacation with my family and I discovered that my then wife was having a physical affair with another man while on vacation, of all things. And it was, I had never endured anything like that before. I had endured, the death of a parent, grandparents, friends, all that stuff, job problems, money problems. We went through all of that, but this was different. And it really, what didn't help is that it was compounded by my spouse, who was my best friend in the whole world, all that good stuff, all wrapped into one human. So you think right at the time, um, flipped and became a completely different human right before my eyes. And that was very traumatic in itself. So here's this person I loved, my best friend in the world. I'm like, who is this person? And she did what? And she, on top of all that, basically abandoned the family for a good amount of time. It was an all around perfect storm of holy shit, not good stuff. And
Crisis.
it was a crisis. It was a trauma that I endured.
Yeah.
And I did go to a therapist, and it was a woman. And she, if I kept dipping into woe was me, she'd pull me back out and say, don't pay attention to that. Concentrate on you and getting better. And one of the things she said was, what none of you men do is none of you um, have guys that you hang out with. You don't have mentors. You don't have friends that you do, but they're very casual. The women, all our women clients are all big into that, but men are not. And so she suggested, go out and make more of those connections. And I went back to my old hometown and met up with some people and got online and chatted with some people going through kind of the same thing. And it was kind of a mishmash, nothing really organized. And then I started writing, which was something I loved to do as a youngster. Get online and write, blog. And no one reads your blog, but it's more therapeutic just for yourself. And it turned out that the domain of Dad Starting Over was available. So I picked that as kind of my name. I'm the dad starting over, and I would write on all kinds of things. I wrote on, parenting children as a single guy, finances, fitness, all the things that I was going through as a guy starting over. And nobody cared until I talked about, Laura, the old subject of sex, sex.
Yes.
Then the world woke up, and instead of 0 readers, I'd get 15 readers, which at that time was like, woohoo, 15 people reading my stuff, and then 20, and then 100. And you're like, oh, wow, this is nice. And then somebody said the magic word, which was, you should write a book on the sex stuff because it's actually really good. I like what you say about sex and marriage and compared to your dating world and all that stuff. I'm like, there you go. And I wrote the book, and I happen to have a copy here called The Dead Bedroom Fix. And it was such a success that I thought maybe I should kind of drop all the other dad starting over stuff and just focus on this bedroom sex stuff. But here's what I realized, Laura, and you'll probably nod along with this. You could try to put people into silos and say he's the dead bedroom guy and he's the divorce guy. They're all the same, and all their issues mixed together.
So when you say it's all the same, do you mean that at the heart of it all is the lack of sex?
No, the heart of all of it, the sex thing is just a tip of the iceberg, but it's the most painful tip, if you will.
Uh-huh.
It's the thing that that sounds terrible.
Love it. It's not the right tip.
So no, of all the pain points in a relationship that I could point to, and this is, I don't know if this is a testament to the male condition, if this puts us in a bad light or not, but it's true. I could put like struggling with finances, your health, parenting. I could put all that on the table, and men will always pick at the same thing. The sex and marriage or lack thereof is my biggest pain point in this relationship out of all the things. So that's what got the most attention. So that brings them in the door, so to speak. But once they're in the door, guess what we determine? 90% of them are very anxious individuals with a very anxious form of attachment to their spouse. They're all married to very avoidant women. They have a history of a lot of drama in their romantic relationships. It causes a series of chaotic events in their life. That was me. I was the poster child for all of that. And it all starts, Laura, as you know, where? Childhood. They all had shitty upbringings. They all had...
And no one wants to believe it.
No one wants to believe it, but that is everything. And for me personally, I've always been a bit of a nerd and love to read. So I was well aware of like Freudian thinking and things like that, and Jungian archetypes and Freud and all that other stuff. I'm not a psychologist by any stretch of the imagination, but I've always found it very interesting. So I always had that kind of the background. But as far as how it applied to me in my situation, and then in turn with all these guys, that therapist that I talked about, the lady that I spoke to, I remember, and you may find this interesting, this one line that always stuck out to me. And for whatever reason, the men that I talked to, it really resonates with them too. I was telling this woman my story of some of the not so good things about my childhood that I endured. And then while I was talking to her, I was kind of in my brain tying it into what I was experiencing then while I was sitting in the chair with her. I was like, wow, and here I am today, fill in the blank. And she just smirked and she says, it's kind of creepy, isn't it? Just how powerless we are to stop, how does she put it? To stop repeating all those mistakes. It seems like it's not chiseled in stone necessarily, but if you don't, sorry, I hit my microphone. If you don't like grabbing the steering wheel, if you don't course correct on purpose, if you just take your hands off the steering wheel and let it auto drive and do, you just repeat the same thing your dad did, the same thing your mother did, the same thing you learned in childhood. It is literally a programming set within you. There's a Mago theory where it is that you tend to pair up with You know, if your mother was a narcissist alcoholic, whatever it may be, I'll be darned. My wife is a narcissist alcoholic. Who saw that coming? It's funny though. We smirk because we're like, well, yeah, of course. But so many people never make that connection. And it's not until they sit down with somebody
No,
that
they
says, tell me
don't.
about mom. And then they smirk and go, it's kind of creepy, isn't it? How much we repeat history. And you go, wow, you're right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So it's, the men see it, and then the men apply that to their wives, and they go, I'll be darned, she's just like her mother, or she's just like her father. And I didn't see this coming. And yeah, and it's a major eye opener. And it's not why it's so difficult for men. I think there is this narrative of it's a sign of weakness, I guess, to look back on things you can't control necessarily. You know, men look at that and go, what's to be gained by saying, boo-hoo, my dad beat me, or boo-hoo, my mom abandoned me. Well, how is that going to help me now? What I need now is to save my family. What I need now is to stop my wife from cheating on me. What I need, it's like, no, that's good to address what needs, you know, addressing right now, such as maybe you're going through a divorce and your finances and so forth. But eventually you're going to have to do the hard work of saying, what got me to this place? Because, and this wakes up a lot of guys when I say this, if you don't do that hard work, you will do this all over again. We see it all the time where men go, oh my gosh, I dated my ex-wife all over again. She's just like her. And it's like, yeah, you have a certain type and they're attracted to you and you're attracted to them. And if you don't address those issues, take your hand off the wheel. You know what happens? You crash every time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the perversity of the human condition,
Yeah.
isn't it? To knowingly, you know, you have it with many things, not just your relationships. You know, you can watch yourself doing the same stupid thing over and over and over again, knowing that it's not good for you. But to you know, to finally get to that place where you're willing to let that thing go can take a terrifying amount of time
No
sometimes.
one, it all starts with a pause, is what I tell a lot of men. A lot of men that I talk to have a lot of problems with anxiety. Again, childhood issues coming forth, bubbling to the surface, as I often say. None of them take a moment to go, just feel. It's okay. You're okay, dude. Just feel, let it pass through you. Maybe sit and reflect and go, what am I so nervous and anxious about right now? What am I so sad about? What's going on with me? Nobody does that. And unfortunately, we have a lot of tools at our disposal to mask and to cover. Pick up phone, scroll, scroll, scroll. Grab drink, grab, eat a lot of food, whatever it may be. Turn on, watch football, whatever it may be. And you don't sit in your feelings. That's also a very not masculine thing. It's a very avoidant thing. Feelings, schmealings, I don't want to go there, which is stereotypically a very masculine thing. But for the men in my world, it's a very much what they see out of their spouses, unfortunately. Their spouses are the ones to put the hand up to say, I don't want to connect in that way. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't, just leave me alone. And these anxious men are the ones pursuing over and over again. That's a dynamic that we see in our group. I don't know, like 90% of the time.
The pursuer, that they're in the
Yeah.
pursuer role. Yes, and how do they go about fixing that? Is it in what you're saying, the kind of emotional regulation? Is it that avenue that they have to learn to
Hmm.
tolerate and I guess process their own feelings in healthier ways rather than continuously expect or hope that their spouse is going to meet all of
Yeah.
their needs or deal with all of their
I just
sufferings?
did a video, which will be out like a month from now, I think, on YouTube. It's on the schedule, where I say, why is it that all these men are going to therapy? They drag their avoidant spouses into therapy, the avoidant wife. And all these
Mhm,
men say the same
mhm,
thing. The therapist just keeps concentrating on me. Husband, here's what you need to do. You need to back
mhm.
off. You need to leave her be. Husband. Why? And I think, well, let's look at the data. And the data shows that the man is twice as likely, roughly, to achieve the level of secure. I always use the pendulum swing. I know that's not scientifically accurate, but I always say like avoidance over here and the anxious person or preoccupied person's over here. We want to be somewhere in the middle, Mr. and Miss Secure. The anxious
Mhm.
one is the one that's more apt to put in the work, so to speak. Like these guys, when
Yeah.
I mention books
Mhm.
to them, they pen and paper. What's the name of it again? And what was that YouTube?
Yep, yep,
What was
yep,
that
yep,
YouTube you
yep.
mentioned? And what's that guy? And what's all this
Mhm.
other stuff? And how do I attend the meetings? Where's the schedule? They're just like, they're on it because they want to achieve a level of secure, but let's be honest, they also just want to save their relationship or whatever it may be. While you turn to their spouse and their spouse is doing the eye rolling thing, like again with the talking about the relationship, again with the YouTube videos and the podcasts. I mean, come on, can we just exist for once, for goodness sakes? So when you go to the therapist, who's the therapist going to give their attention to? The guy who's very receptive and open and willing to make the changes, who is twice as likely to become secure, or the avoidant one that's just going to sit back and roll their eyes and go, oh, Jesus, this again. And what we've seen is, which is in essence, this book, The Dead Bedroom Fix, this could have been called How to Become a More Secure Individual, which is more likely to bring about a level of sexuality and connectedness in a relationship. That's a pretty long title. Dead Bedroom Fix gets the point across.
Yeah.
That's basically what that's about.
It's more snappy.
It's how to become a more secure dude.
Yeah.
And for an admittedly small portion of the population, what they notice is the avoidant wife says, I see what you're doing. It makes me able to breathe a little bit better. It makes me realize the value of my mate because you're finally off my back. And it makes me more apt to say, you know what, let's work on us. And a lot of men hear that and go, it's always on the dude. It's not always on the dude. It's always on the anxious person, it seems, to put in some of that work, and fingers crossed the avoidant person comes over to them. That's what we see again and again. I'm not sure if that's necessarily illustrative of society as a whole, but within our group, that's what we're seeing again and again. So I'm not sure what the original question is. I often do this. I'll go down trains of thought.
Yeah. No, that's a cool thing. Yes,
Is it?
I think so. So it was a question of childhood. It was around how yes, that many chaps don't think that there's a link, and what perhaps you might say. Here's another way of another question, I guess, is what you might say to the guy who is reluctant to do that deeper work. Robert Bly, I'm sure you've heard of the book Iron John. He talks about the bucketing out work and how reluctant men generally are. He says that he may come to the bucketing out work in his 30s and and balk, and then he'll perhaps come back in his 40s. It takes a lot. Life. He was pointing out that it seems that life has to batter men into submission they have to be beaten before they will surrender to the need to do that deeper digging psychological, that dive.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I don't know if that's necessarily unique to men so much. We see something similar in a lot of addicts, for example. They have a lot of people enabling them. They're persisting with their habit, their substance abuse. Why? Because they're able to maintain life during it. Sure, they have to steal from this person and do this and do that, but at least they're able to survive and they get their drug. It's not until they hit rock bottom, they're face down in the gutter, they're arrested, they're thrown into jail, they go through withdrawals, and their family leaves them, and everyone has the intervention and say, we're not giving you any money anymore. That finally they go, man, I got a problem. Maybe I need to do something about this. We see something similar in men, like with myself. When I look back on my first marriage and I go, were there issues in that marriage? Were there red flag moments that told me like there's some not so good stuff coming around the bend? Oh yeah, quite a bit. But this is something a lot of men tell me. I was so caught up in what I call the family machine. Work, work, work. Children, 3 children for goodness sakes. So all of them had events, all of them had school functions, all of them had homework or whatever it may be. Maybe not so much the 1.5-year-old, but he had his daycare and everything else, and still in diapers and all that other stuff. And do you have time to just sit and go, let me ponder my childhood and my baggage and what I bring to the table and what she brings to the table? No, it's not until life smacks you upside the head and says, wake up, mister, that you go, oh, okay, maybe I should take a time out and really sit and ponder this and figure out what's going on. But even then, it wasn't immediate. Then, I was still trying to date, and I was still doing all these not so good things that weren't necessarily healthy for me in the long run. But the question is, what was the turning point that made me go, all right, enough? I reintroduced some dating drama back into my life. That was a big eye opener for me, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it all over again. Why do I keep introducing chaos? Why is it that I am unknowingly attracted to me a woman who was cheating on her husband. I had no idea until she just told me as if she was talking about the weather one day. So my husband, like, whoa, what? Excuse me, you know? And then I realized that was my first foray into, oh, Ralph, you got a type, buddy. This is not like it's the initial knee-jerk reaction from a lot of men running into that is there are cheating women everywhere. This must be like the majority of women must do this. I mean, for goodness sakes, I'm 3 for 3, right? It's like, no, it goes a little deeper than that. It's you have a certain type, you got some background, you hang around certain type of people, you attract a certain type of people, you're attracted to them. There's something about them, and yes, it goes back to the childhood. There's something probably, dear mom, that is a characteristic of her that you're not attracted to. That's really uncomfortable to talk about, but that's
It's so
that's something that
uncomfortable.
psychologists have been, yeah,
Really, anything but that.
I'm attracted to mom.
Anything. So can we move on if are you happy to take the conversation somewhere it's not really that different, but I wanted to kind of get you to home in on just for my audience in part because they are very interested in the dead bedroom fix. Many of my audience are in what you would call a sexless marriage. So I guess one of the questions that I have is, what are your tips to men? What is it that is going to prevent you? It's like the $1 million question. How do I prevent ending up in a sexless
Well,
marriage?
the first,
Please, Ralph.
I'm picturing the men leaning forward in their chair listening to this. Here it comes.
Yes.
But the answer I'm going to give is one that no man wants to hear. They go, oh, God, it deflates them, right? It starts with vetting your partner. You're getting to know somebody. There are certainly signs at an early age that this person may not be the most loving, open, sexual human being on the planet Earth. And from what I've heard from all of these men is, oh yeah, they saw that very early on. Sure, there's the honeymoon phase, which does a really good job of masking a lot of this kind of stuff, but there's still things that still seep through the cracks. The problem is that these women are matched up with men who are basically feel very fortunate to have a woman. Number one, they don't want to let her go. That codependent Mr. Nice Guy streak overlooks a lot of stuff. And so for me to tell a man, basically what I'm saying to him is, you made a big oopsie 20 years ago, my friend, and I think you know it, and you're trying to forget that and overlook that and say, I know I probably shouldn't have been with this woman to begin with, but it is what it is. How do I fix this? And sometimes, I'm sorry to say, it ain't going to happen, dude. Some of the situations are so bad, at zero fault of the man sometimes, that there's no, quote, fixing this. Some people, personality-wise, it's just not in their makeup to be a sexual, loving human being. And we could say, is that a genetic thing? Is it a thing, baggage from their childhood? Probably yes and yes. There is a lot that goes against long-term monogamy and sexuality, period. Long-term monogamy is traditionally not the best breeding ground for lustful behavior, I guess you could say. We are the most sexual, the most free and open when we are not committed to a person. Typically, most human beings are. When we're in the dating game, when we're in the honeymoon phase, when things are uncertain, both men and women are more energetic and we're putting on the best act, so to speak, but that's the wrong term to use because it sounds like it's a conniving fake thing. It's not. We're genuinely, what's funny is I often tell these men, if we were to go back in time to your now obviously very avoidant wife during the early stage of your relationship and say, what do you think about your husband or your boyfriend? Love him to death, best person ever. How often are you guys getting it on? At least 5 times a week. Do you see that persisting through? Oh yeah, I don't think we'll ever change. We'll always be this way. Really? Yep. Even when you're 80, even when we're 80, that's how we're going to be. Men don't believe that. They think that was an act. She was putting on a show. She was waiting for the I do's, and then she shut it off. So she didn't have to do that. It's like, I'm sure that happens, but that's not the majority. The majority is that there's a very much a almost biological, psychological phenomena at play. It's like once committed, especially after having kids, and cohabitating and everything, the libido goes from here to here. We've seen that for generations in people. And for whatever reason, that message hasn't really gotten across to a lot of people. Some people interpret that as a very anti-marriage thing, but it's not. It's a realistic thing, meaning you have to put in work to stay connected, both of you. You got to do the date nights. You got to get away from the kids. You got to put the effort in. And Mr. Men drop the romance. No, you can't drop that. Still do the little love notes. Wife drops the sexy behavior. No, put away the pajamas. It's okay to dress a little sexy and put on a little hot number and go out. It's okay to show the cleavage. It's okay
For
to
sure.
all these things. The pervasive cultural narrative of, if it feels like work, then it wasn't meant to be, is something that I have no scientific data to back this up, but just anecdotally, I hear more from women than I hear from men. It seems like a lot of men have resigned themselves to, the spark is gone as far as that romantic connection, but we should still get it on physically. That's what a lot of men tell me, basically. And just the fact that I said I do and gave my vows to this woman and sacrificed so much for this woman should be enough for me to receive that, basically, that sex from her and that connection to her. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And then you go to the women, and the women are basically like, if I don't feel that over the top lustfulness anymore, that's indicative of something's wrong here. And that's unfortunate. You've just basically thrown out 99% of long-term monogamous marriages, basically.
That's absolutely right. So let's finish then with the question. I'm going to try and get this out succinctly, but you obviously think that sex is important in relationships, crucial. I agree on that. We are aligned, which is cool. But as you say, it seems to be such a problem for people to keep that going. Why is sex so important, do you think, to the health of relationships?
Well, we know that there's a biological phenomena at play with, all these chemicals such as oxytocin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and then your sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, and so forth. Everything works in concert together, and nothing seems to work in concert together unless you have that physical connection. It's funny how Mother Nature kind of engineered us as the human robot, so to speak, to, once this takes place, I'm picturing like a programming language. If sex equals yes, then, and then there's all this series of events that happen in the human body that make you an overall healthier and happier human being. Funny how that works. Science aside, let's stick to like the softer stuff. We know for a fact that couples are closer together emotionally and mentally when they do the deed. Now, we should preface this by saying not everyone is able to do that. And we also have some couples that both of them are in agreement, like, we don't do that anymore. She went through a cancer scare, whatever. He's 72 years of age and he doesn't really feel like it all that much anymore. And that's cool. They love each other to death. They still do that. And they'll be the first to get on my Facebook comments and say, sex is not that important. I said, well, in your particular set of circumstances, maybe not. But for the vast majority of human beings, and it's a strong word you don't like to throw around there, need that. They don't need it to survive. They don't need it to keep their heart pumping and the air going out of their lungs, but they do need it to feel connected to that other person at the level that is healthy, that causes all those chemicals to pump out and to keep them bonded with that other person. And unfortunately, this is the big, but it takes two. And one can't unilaterally say, I think sex is great. And one can't unilaterally say, I think sex is really not that big of a deal. We can just drop it. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Unfortunately, that's exactly how that works for a lot of couples. Why don't you? Because she doesn't want to. Oh, okay. Or he has no desire to anymore. He went through some kind of health thing or something, whatever it may be. That's unfortunate. And if you ask the sexual part of the couple, they would say they're suffering. They're not happy campers at all. They're depressed, and their physical health and emotional health is suffering as a result of just not doing the act with their partner. So it's pretty damn important.
Yes. So what do we say? What, as a final note, what do we say to the people who have decided that sex is not, it's not for them. It's not something, they don't need it.
This is This is a technique, I guess you could say, an avenue, verbal exploration that tends to get the job done as far as building momentum towards reconnecting as a couple. Now, with the preface saying the dynamic I'm talking about is the wife says no and the husband says I want. That's what I see in my world. So let's stick, and that's the majority of such cases. And this is horrible. Men hate hearing this, by the way. Here's your best chance, Mr. Man. You go to wife and say, do you realize you're setting an example for our children? They're going to grow up to see that parents don't have a loving. It's not so much the old in and out either. It's everything that goes with it. It's the kissing. It's the kissing when mom or dad walks in the door after work. It's the little pats on the butt at the at the kitchen counter when they're washing the dishes together. It's just the random smooches. It's the hugs. It's the cuddling on the couch. You're saying that's when all that's gone. Usually, all that goes as well. It's not just the sex. Are you saying that's the model, the dynamic that you want to model for your children? Is that what you want our daughter to live like with her future husband? That's often the thing that wakes the mother up to say, oh, yeah, I see your point. That's really not ideal, is it? It's funny how they need that outside perspective, and they need to involve the children to kind of wake them up, at least to the point of getting help with it. Okay, I'll go talk to somebody if you want to talk to somebody. And sometimes that's enough to get the ball rolling in the right direction. But men hate hearing that, because men all say, the anxious men in these situations, they all say, it should be enough for me to say, I'm your husband, damn it, and I love you. I just want to connect with my wife again. What's so horrible about that? That should be a normal thing. That should be something that you're gladly jump on the train and say, yes, I want to connect with my husband. I love him to death. But no, they don't get that. It's not until they actually threaten, if you will, with divorce, or say you're setting a bad model for your children, that the wife goes, all right, fine, we'll go to the counseling. And sometimes men get that in return and say, never mind. I that's not the frame I want for all this. I was hoping that you would want to save our marriage for us, not just for kids, not just for, but I got to be honest with you guys listening to this. No, your best bet is to involve divorce or children, which sounds like an ultimatum, but ultimatums work. There's nothing necessarily wrong with an ultimatum. It means these are my boundaries. This is what I expect out of my life. If you don't want to be involved, that's cool. I understand. I love you, but this isn't what I envisioned for my marriage. Are you saying that you're willing to lose us and me because of this? And this is the kicker that I say to a lot of men. This doesn't mean, wife, I want to jump into bed right now. This is really tough for a lot of men. In fact, wife, if you told me, all right, fine, let's go to bed, I would say no. And women hear that and go, what do you mean? It's like, because we're not connected. We don't talk, we don't date, we don't hug, we have to do all that stuff that leads up to that point. If you just jump in bed with me, it's just going to be a mechanical robot, fine, get it over with thing. And that's the last thing in the world I want. I'm dead serious about reconnecting with you, wife. That's what I want. That's sometimes also an eye opener for the wife. Like, oh, I guess he does have a point. But it's horrible just saying it out loud. That's horrible to say out loud. It has to get to that point with your spouse. But be realistic about this.
Well, I do get their beef with that. There is something in that it is upsetting that women, so many women don't understand that would sadden a man to get this sense that his wife won't connect with him in a way that brings him so much pleasure. I mean, my husband explained it to me. That is how I feel connected. That's how I feel wanted. There's something about the sexual experience with you that reassures me I am loved, truly loved. It's like and it was that conversation that, when he began to express himself very clearly around that matter, that I got the message, Ralph. It was really important, so this idea that she would just do it for the kids, I get that would be upsetting. And, one of the conversations that I want to have with women is around this, that we have to come to understand that if we're truly interested in raising truly happy children who turn out to be secure, psychologically stable, individuals, grown-ups, then we need to model the kinds of relationships that bring children, that reassure children, that when mum and dad are having sex, when they've got that kind of strong connection, when they're in tune like that, when he is happy, when a man is truly fulfilled, I mean, there's nothing better than that. And that was one of the things I worked out. It's like, why would I be interested in him being anything other than happy? And to provide that for your children is I just don't think there's anything like it. But yes, to have a conversation with women, it's essentially, in some ways, why I'm doing this. It's like it's something that women don't understand, that's part of a relationship with a man, with most men, that there'd be the very rare chap who has, as you say, gone through something and he's not that interested. But for most men, if you want them to truly function, to truly thrive in his own life, to be strong and sane and stable, then sex is going to be something that you're going to have to not just do, like a chore, but get behind, like it's for the good. It's for the good of the whole fucking enterprise.
Perfect
So,
ending. Very well
yes.
said.
Yeah, perfect ending. Thank you so much, Ralph. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think what you're doing is just incredible. I've thought for a long time that, the only way we're going to get to more successful marriages and long-term relationships is that both men and women get on with doing their own work. And you have provided a phenomenal platform and community that I'd at some point in the future love to hear way more about than we've had time for you to tell me about today. Yes, the world is very lucky to have you, and I hope we get to do this again. So the last question is, where can people find you?
We created a webpage just for your followers, your viewers and your listeners. So if you go to helpformen.com/love, LOVE, because Love Cherish podcast. So LOVE, we have a few offers there. So you get a link to my free course, zero cost, the Dead Bedroom Fix course, deadbedroomfixcourse.com if you want to go there, or just go to helpformen.com/love. You'll see the link there. You not only get 10 videos of me talking all about this dead bedroom stuff, but you also get a free copy of the book, The Dead Bedroom Fix, an ebook version of a PDF. Cool stuff. And then there's a discount on coaching if somebody wants to talk to me one-on-one about this stuff or anything about starting over as a man. And then we have a big discount on the group as well for guys that want to join the group. So check it out, helpformen.com/love.
That is fantastic. So you'd be crazy not to take Ralph up on that amazing offer. So do check Ralph out. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Ralph.
so much,
It
Laura.
really has been a total
All right.
treat.
I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.